Hello and welcome back to the channel for a brand new video. So it's been over a week since The Power of the Doctor, and obviously we've got a lot of new stuff already from the next era, from RTD2, from the 60th specials, and that's been reflected on the channel as well in terms of the content that I've been making, and I've been responding to the new logo, all the stuff with David Tennant, the trailer, the promo pics, what have you. But I did also kind of want to take a moment to just reflect back on The Power of the Doctor and take a breather and kind of discuss it in a little bit more detail. Certain aspects of it, certain elements, particularly the stuff that was kind of really hyped up and really rumoured beforehand as well. Stuff that I covered on the channel in that week leading up to broadcast. The big rumours, things like David Tennant, which obviously is one that I've already covered in loads of detail. But also the rumours regarding the classic Doctors and classic companions and the regeneration itself, and just a bit of a reflection also about how the regeneration went and whether I was pleased with it or not. So that'll come in a separate video, and same for the classic companions as well. Today I want to focus just primarily really on the classic Doctors. Obviously there were rumours going around for months and months in advance about classic Doctors appearing in this episode. Specifically the 1st, 6th and 7th Doctors. You'll know that already if you watched the video I made on the topic prior to broadcast, where I basically explained that there was this photo going around about a year ago in October of 2021 where David Bradley, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy were spotted in a B&B in Penarth, which is very close to Cardiff, which is where Doctor Who is filmed. And the cover story or sort of excuse that was given is that they were filming a documentary of some description, rumoured to be something for the BBC centenary or indeed for the 6th anniversary next year. Now whether that was, true in part or literally just a cover story, we don't know at this stage. I haven't really seen anyone talk about that particularly, whether there was a documentary or whether that was just a ruse to hide the fact that they were appearing in the episode. But yes, it turned out to be true. So we did get David Bradley back, we got Colin Baker back, we got Sylvester McCoy back, we also got Peter Davison, the 5th Doctor, and Paul McGann, the 8th Doctor, who for whatever reason weren't staying at the same B&B. Maybe they had to dash off somewhere after the day's filming, I don't know. But yes, that is 5 Doctors in total that we got back. So all of the 80s Doctors, the TV movie Doctor, the 8th Doctor, Paul McGann, plus David Bradley in a recast as the very first Doctor. So 5 Doctors appearing in this story, alongside, of course, the 13th Doctor, make that 6, and then if you include the 14th Doctor, make it 7, and if you include Ncuti Gatwa, who of course didn't appear in the episode itself, but in the teaser trailer afterwards, then make it 8. So a grand total of 8 Doctors who appeared, on BBC One on Sunday the 23rd of October, which is just absolutely bonkers. So in terms of my opinions, my thoughts on this and how it was done, I think it was a really, really lovely thing to do, a really lovely way to do it as well. I think, bringing back classic Doctors for the BBC Centenary special was such a great move, such a canny move. You kind of wonder why they haven't done it already, and particularly when you look at the way they did it in this story, by literally just having, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy just there, like as older versions of their Doctors, not, trying to make them look younger or whatever. You have Peter Davison and Sylvester McCoy in their costumes, but they kind of explain it away through the hologram thing and whatever. So, it just goes to show, I suppose, that you don't have to, use de-aging software or whatever, although of course now, with a Disney partnership and everything, maybe, one day that'll be possible. But, certainly for the moment, for the kind of production techniques and limitations that they were working with, in this current era of Doctor Who, it does just go to show that, you can get away with doing it, you can explain it away, you can bring these characters back, anything is possible. And I think, like I say, it definitely kind of leaves you thinking, why haven't they done this earlier? Why did they not do it for the 50th? Because obviously we had Tom Baker, and they kind of explained that away there, but like sort of as a one-off thing with the curator. Whereas now they've just literally kind of just gone for it with all of them and just said, we'll do this, we'll explain it away, but we'll make something up, we'll make the logic up, we'll bend the logic to suit our needs, basically. And yeah, obviously these actors aren't getting any younger. So I think it's a really great thing that we've had them in the show at this point, this kind of time capsule almost, to have them there, on the record, back in the show. Because, particularly for Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy. You know, they literally haven't appeared on TV Doctor Who since, you know, their original runs back in the 80s, you know, unless you count things like Dimensions in Time, whatever. But in terms of like the main canon of the show, and sure, you know, they've done stuff for Big Finish, you know, all of them have, you know, David Bradley, even he's done stuff for Big Finish. And he's a slightly different thing anyway, a slightly different kettle of fish, you know, because he only appeared for the first time, you know, in the new series, well, technically in Adventure in Space and Time, and Twice Upon a Time as well, and then again here. You know, lovely to see him again as well. You know, I think that first shot where they pan up from the robes, you know, and you're kind of wondering, who is that? Who is this figure? Is it, you know, just whatever? I mean, I kind of thought it was like a Thajarian to start with because of the red and black robes, but no, it kind of pans up and you see the first Doctor and you kind of think, okay, we're going down this route, you know, this is what we're doing here. And then the way they just bring in, you know, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester, Paul McGann as well, as this hologram or whatever, this thing that kind of just, you know, transforms into the incarnations, kind of merging between them. It's such a lovely idea, you know, to have them there, and also, you know, to have them all there as one being, one entity, rather than having them all like standing there in a row. You know, Peter Capaldi has made comments, I think, before about how he doesn't necessarily like the idea of coming back for a multi-Doctor story because there'll be so many of them to kind of fit into the story, so many different Doctors, you know, to have there and to give something to do. But here I think it was really nicely done in the sense that, you know, like I say, you've just got one character there, one sort of interface, I suppose, for the Guardians of the Edge or the Doctor's consciousness or whatever. Got one character there, and they each kind of have a few lines or whatever, and just kind of merge into each other, you know, bicker with each other a bit as well, like with Sylvester and Paul, which was very nice to see, just bantering with each other. It was really nicely done. I really, really did think it was a great way to do it, you know, so special. Fans of all ages, you know, particularly for people who grew up watching the 80s Doctors as kids. I mean, I can't speak, you know, from personal experience from that point of view. You know, I only came to these Doctors later on. I'm a new series fan primarily, and I came to the show with the new series. But I can totally imagine what it would have been like, you know, for people who are adults now, who are kids back then in the 80s, to see their childhood Doctors back on screen after all these years away and after all this kind of lost hope and, you know, thinking we might never see them in TV Doctor Who again. That just must have been such a special thing for them. I'm so glad, you know, that the fans of that age and of those eras got their Doctors back, got their moment, you know. It's really special because, you know, we had Tom Baker, you know, he's a popular Doctor. Everyone was pleased to see him in the 50th Day of the Doctor. But, you know, to have a kind of the underdog Doctors, if you will, you know, the Doctors of the 80s who, you know, at the time weren't necessarily very well treated by the BBC or whatever, weren't necessarily treated well by fans either, or taken into fans' hearts in the same way that other Doctors were. I just think it's lovely, really, really, really special, you know, for fans of all ages to celebrate this. And, you know, to have it in Jodie's last episode as well, you know, I've seen people be a bit critical perhaps of, you know, them stealing the limelight from her or vice versa, you know, having those things all going on in the same episode. But actually, I sort of think it works. I think, you know, particularly having Jodie sort of interact with the first Doctor, you know, okay, it's not William Hartnell, it can't be, but to have them both there, you know, almost in the same shot, or at least in the same scene, that is just amazing. You know, it's the power of Doctor Who, the power of the Doctor, and what this show is, and what it means to its fans, and what it can do. It was just such a beautiful way to do it. And as well, of course, you know, we had those moments with Peter Davison and Sylvester McCoy where they interacted with their respective companions in an episode as well. You know, so with Peter Davison and Janet Fielding, then with Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred, and the 5th Doctor and Tegan, 7th Doctor and Ace. That was lovely as well, you know, to see it. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that to happen either, so that was quite a nice surprise in a sense, because, you know, there had been rumours about old Doctor's costumes appearing in the special, and the Doctor, sort of, the current Doctor, the 13th Doctor, wearing all these old items of clothing. Of course, in the end, you know, we did see that come to pass, and we saw the Master doing the same thing as well. But yeah, to see, you know, Peter Davison back in the outfit, you know, to see Sylvester McCoy back in the outfit. Apparently the outfit that Sylvester was wearing wasn't particularly accurate to what he wore back in the 80s, and that's putting it mildly. But yeah, even so, you know, the heart was in the right place, the intention was there, and I just think, you know, to have those interactions, to round things off, you know, for those characters, for those companions, for those Doctor companion duos, that was a really, really special thing. I do also think, on the one hand, it was a shame that we didn't get a similar thing for Colin Baker and for the Sixth Doctor. Obviously there wasn't a Sixth Doctor companion in this story, apart from right at the end with Mel Bush. But yeah, that was a bit of a shame, to not have some kind of interaction there, to not get him back in his costume and have him there, either with Bonnie or with Nicola. It would have been nice to see. I suppose, at the same time, you can't do it for everybody, and at the end of the day, you've only got so much time, like 90 minutes, whatever, for this story. You can't fit everything in, you can't have every companion back, every Doctor back, everyone getting their moments. I think the way it was handled with the hologram and the Guardians of the Edge, that was nice because they each did kind of get a sort of equal amount of stuff to do, possibly a bit more for David Bradley as the first Doctor, kind of introducing it, and then the other Doctors kind of following on, having a line or two here or there, the bantering, and just kind of flitting between them one by one. That was really balanced. And, I think overall, it was really, really nicely done. And I just think, a couple of things really. And like I said in this video, already, you kind of wonder why they didn't do this earlier on. I guess it is just a case, of the stars aligning and having this opportunity to do it, and also possibly to do with the regime as well, the production team. Perhaps for one reason or another, Moffat and Moffat's production team weren't keen on doing this. Perhaps they'd have thought it would have spoiled the magic to have the classic Doctors, back in the show looking slightly similar, but also very different and much older. Perhaps having Chris Chibnall, in charge of the show as the showrunner, being the 80s fanboy that he is, perhaps that was the push, basically, that the show needed to actually do this. And I suppose that's something which, whatever you think of Chris Chibnall, whatever you think of his era, all fans of Doctor Who as a whole can be thankful for that he brought in these classic Doctors and classic companions, albeit quite late in the day in the grand scheme of his era, but at least, they had their time to shine in this story. And I think overall, it was just a really, really beautiful way to do it. A really special thing, that hopefully all fans could get on board with and enjoy, particularly the older fans as well. I've seen so many, positive responses to this and people that were just thrilled to see these characters again. And I think that is all you can ask for, really. Like I say, it's the power of the Doctor, the power of Doctor Who, that the show can do this and bring these characters back. Really, really, really special stuff. Those are my thoughts on how the classic Doctors were utilised in The Power of the Doctor and how things worked. And overwhelmingly, yes, I think it did work. But perhaps, you thought the opposite, or perhaps you did agree with me. Perhaps you were disappointed, or perhaps you were elated, or perhaps you were somewhere in between. Whatever the case, please do make your thoughts known in the comments below. Please also like this video if you have enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you're new for more stuff like this in the future. And if you'd like to go one step further in supporting the content I make, you can find the link to my Patreon page in the video description. But otherwise, until the next one, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye